Areas that are within 300 meters of both streams and primitive roads are the most popular for fishing. Create a map. Okay, great. This is a good one. So, the first thing we have to do is isolate our streams and primitive roads somehow. I'm thinking that we can do a definition query on both those layers to isolate the streams and the primitive roads, and then we can merge them together. Merge is another tool that will just take two data sets and put them into one. And then we can buffer that by however many feet. So a couple of tools, right? Merge and a buffer. And these are both final candidates. Buffer is very simple, right? And merge is just putting two things into one, right? And I don't think there's going to be too many more final candidates outside of merge, buffer, intersect, spatial join.
Can you like start making a list of what's going to be on it and just like send it to us?
I will. It's a good idea. Merge, buffer, intersect, spatial join. And then I said editing. Like geodatabase. Symbolizing and creating a map. All right, I'll keep that going. Great. So, remind me if I say something. All right, so let's remove everything. We don't need the geology for this one. We just need the roads. Roads and streams, which aren't in there yet. So we'll have to get them, I guess. Did you guys see the streams anywhere else?
I think that they're in the black.
In roads?
No, in the black hills.
Oh, okay. That's that's what I was thinking. All right, good. I was like, just make sure I didn't miss anything. Great. Okay, so so all we really have to do is isolate the primitive roads and then merge that with the streams. So let's do in the roads. We're going to do the same thing we did in the first question. Query builder, and we now know that type equals PR is primitive. So we're just going to now search for the merge tool. And the trick obviously is knowing what the name of the tool was in the first place and what it does. And that would, doing the exercise and the reading, I was hoping that you'd be able to get that. So merge is a data management tool. So one of the few that doesn't require, I was going to say one of the few that doesn't require a spatial analyst, but that's for the raster part of things. All these should be not needing spatial analysts. They should be normal, just tools. So I'm going to pull in the roads and streams, and that's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to say what it should be called. So I'm going to call it Q6 streams to PR roads merge. And it's giving you a preview here. It's saying that all of these fields are going to be in your output. It doesn't matter, but it's similar to when we did the intersect. It's just taking all the features from two data sets and putting them into one data set. And if any of the fields are the same, it will put the data in the same field. And if any of the fields are different, it will... I don't have a license for it. Darn it. Oh, did it do it anyway? It did it anyway. Okay. Okay. And this is what I wanted to show you. When you merge two things together, if you look at the streams, so in the streams we just had the F node and the stream ID. And then you can look up into the merged data set and you can see the F node and the stream. Those were the fields from the streams. And then the fields from the roads were F node over to hazard rating. And if you look at our result, you can see should start somewhere. Ends with hazard rating, and it looks like, oh, sorry, F node and T node and L poly and R poly were all the same between the two layers. So they all got, that data got put in the same field. But you can see these two were just in streams and these were just in roads. So when we merged it together, it didn't get data for one and it didn't get for the other, which doesn't matter for this. It's just something to point that out for like a merge. So anyway, all we have to do now is buffer that by 300 meters. So we will search for a tool called buffer. And we will just pull in the roads. And then whenever I do a buffer, I just take the previous layer and I just add an underscore 300 meter, and then I'll just do a B or like a B, like BUFF or something. And then of course you have to type in what distance you want the buffer to be. And remember we showed at one point what a dissolved and not dissolved buffer look like. So we'll dissolve everything because I'll show that again actually what it looks like. So dissolved, it looks like a blob that covers the distance between away from the roads and the streams together. And then if we in that, here's looking at your results. So if you go to geoprocessing and you go to results and you go to your current session, you can see all the things that I've done are listed here. And if I go to buffer and I just click on it again, it opens up the same tool I just did and matches missed it. And you can go to dissolve type and change that to none and just see what it looks like then. We'll just change this to no dissolve. And you can see if it's dissolved, it gets a nice clean blob around everything. And if it's not dissolved, each individual thing gets its own buffer.
Oh, that's why you do that. I was trying to clean up that mess. I'm like, this has to be good enough.
And it's interesting, right? So like, if we didn't do a dissolve, we could run another tool that's called a dissolve. Oop. To do that for us, which will take a whole bunch of layers and just merge them all into one. But it will combine their boundaries.
The last question they're asking, one of them, they're asking like the color, the different areas around it, like red and green. I wasn't quite sure. Were they talking about the paths, like red and green for the roads next to the streams, or was it red and green around the area as we solid roads? So basically, it was like, okay, it has to be the areas around. But I was fairly certain.
I think we're on the last one. You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
But that isn't the area that is streams and roads together within 300 meters.
But it is, right?
It says area that's within 300 meters of both streams and related roads.
So the step before that was the merge,
Right.
where we have streams, but then you can see that there's areas here that aren't streams,
Right.
where there are the primitive roads.
Right. But
And then we have another layer that's those two together. Just those primitive, because you can see that line on there.
Okay.
So any space on there is 300 meters from a road and stream?
Or a stream, yep. So you could have done this in a bunch of different ways. There's another way where we could have buffered the streams and buffered the primitive roads and then dissolved those two together.
That's actually what I tried.
That would have worked.
nothing was buffering it. It was acting like it was going to do it for a while, and then it didn't. Then it failed a bunch of times. So I had clipped them together. So there's the areas with a radius of 300 meters.
Yeah.
So then it was just the streams and the roads that were within 300 meters of each other.
Oh, geez,
And
yeah,
that
I
was
see.
the area. And then some of them had to be green if they're on private lands, or on public lands, some have to be red if they're on private land.
Well, that's really nice stuff.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
nice?
Well, I accidentally did it for 300 feet instead of meters, so that was.
It's okay. I won't take points off of that. It's, you got a map with 300-foot buffers that shows the same thing. That's
But
It's
I
awesome.
also to buffer it, I clipped it to that size. Is that totally different?
well. I have a guess of why it took a long time because it was like if you clipped. I think your order of operations might have been a little bit funny. Basically, if you were going to try it again, I would suggest it's basically you're working on your streams and your roads, and you can either buffer those two things and then merge them together, or you can merge them together and buffer those and buffer the result of that. For this, I merged them together, put them into one data set, and then I buffered them. But we could have just as easily gotten both buffers and then. And I think if you read the question, like the way I read the question was, I want to see all of the area that's either 300 meters from a stream or 300 meters from a primitive road.
Oh, I bet it was both.
Okay, so if it was both, then okay, great. If it was both, I'll show you what I would have done. See if this matches you. I would have buffered the streams, and then I would have buffered the roads, and then I would have done an intersect. Because if you did a clip, it would have just pulled out from one of the layers. It would have given you the result that it originally had. So we would need to intersect them together to see what was the same.
Right.
So I don't know why it would have taken a long time, but
I mean, and then the buffer failed. I mean, it came up with an error saying buffer failed. So.
well, that is surprising. If you could pull up that, one way to troubleshoot is if you go back to your MXD, you can look at your previous session from 9 years ago. Look at that. That's incredible. But yours is probably more recent than that. And you can just click on, what your analysis looked like. So I can see, if you want to show it to me, like what layers you use.